You are listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to One on One, a KC Sports Network podcast. I'm your co-host, Mike DeVito, here as always with the legend, the Super Bowl champion, Jeff Allen. And we are here to bring you all things Chiefs football from a player's perspective. This podcast, as always, is brought to you by Cookie Society Cookies. Thank you to our sponsor. Big Jeff, we're going to jump right into it today.
Right into it, baby.
Right into it. Broncos game. I saw this with the Bengals. We had Mark Schlereth on last week. We didn't get to talk about it that much. But I saw, social media was really upset, and just not just social media, but media in general was upset with the Bengals loss. What the heck's going on with the Chiefs?
Yeah.
I know you and I weren't as worried about that. It seemed like it's a tough team. It's these things, go back and forth. We'll see them again in the playoffs. That seemed to roll over again into this week. Again, the social media backlash.
With the win.
With the win at Denver. And the biggest thing being being up 27-0 and then Denver coming back. Now, I have my thoughts on this. Big picture, I'm not too worried. But why don't we start with you, Big Jeff? What do you think? Is this something that we should be worried about? What's going on here?
I'll start out by saying it's not a big deal, so everybody relax.
Right.
But I love the enthusiasm. I love the standard. The bar is high in Kansas City now.
It is.
And it's not just about winning games. It's about winning games in the fashion that you should win them when you're playing bad football teams.
Right.
Especially with what we're trying to do. And I think the biggest disappointment, not only from the fans, but was just how sloppy we were offensively. And Patrick was the first person to raise his hand and take the blame with some of the turnovers. But I think it's been a theme throughout the season, is particularly on the edges with a little bit of pressure. And I think we can get a little bit better on that end of it. But with all that being said, this is a great football team, Super Bowl caliber football team. It's tough to win games in this league, even with some of the worst teams. The worst teams on a good day can beat you. And Russ looked really good that game. Defensively, we could have done some things here and there, but they did a really good job, given the circumstances and the situations they were put in due to the offense.
Yeah. Turnovers are tough, and we've talked about the correlation between turnovers and points. So I'm not super worried about it. I think that one thing we have to recognize this late in the year, when you're playing a team like Denver, who is a divisional team, like rivalry team, plus the fact that this is their Super Bowl. There's no playoffs for them. But once the season's done, it's done. So when you get to this time of the year, these teams can be dangerous. Because that coaching staff, they're fighting for their jobs. Those players, they're fighting for their jobs. And, to have a shitty season, but to beat, but hey, we beat the Chiefs. You know what I mean? They came in here and we were able to beat them.
Yeah.
That's something that everybody can sort of hang their hat on. So I think what we have to recognize is, these, even though these are bad teams, well, Denver, and then we'll get into everybody moving forward. This is still the NFL. And, these guys, Kansas City is going to get their best shot every single week for these teams because, again, this is their Super Bowl. This is these teams' Super Bowl. If you can beat the Chiefs, you really have something on your resume at the end of the season to hand to an owner or to a coach or whatever and say, hey, look what we were able to get this done. And so I think it's just important to recognize KC is not, these teams aren't just going to roll over because they're bad. Not only are they not going to roll over, they're going to give Kansas City everything they got. And I think you saw some of this. I mean, you had mentioned before, this is what you thought to be Russell Wilson's best game.
Yeah.
Right. And is it surprising that it came against the Chiefs?
No, I expected it.
Right.
It's always like that. I mean, they're the king of the hill, especially in the AFC West. I mean, this is their division. It's going to be 7 straight AFC West titles. So you're going to get the best shot from every single team, especially when we're playing in the division. Everyone's gunning for you during the offseason. Every GM, every owner, they're constructing a team to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. So they may look bad against other teams, but they're damn well going to look good against the Chiefs because that is the standard in the AFC West, and that's who they have to beat. So everyone's constructing their teams to beat the Chiefs in the AFC, not just the AFC West, but in particular in the division. It's very important that you match up well against the best team, and that's the Chiefs.
That's exactly right. Now, a word of caution. We've talked about it before, Jeff. This time of year, everybody's a little bit more tired. It's getting dark out late. The holidays, family in town.
Yeah.
You can't recoup. one of the differences from when we were there, Jeff, but earlier in my career, that is not the case now, is if these little things that we saw on Sunday that are causing some of the missteps on offense, some of the missteps on defense, you don't want to get momentum going in the wrong direction there.
Yeah.
And I'm talking not just with winning and losing games, but specifically with technique wise. And let me tell you, so back in 2010, I was with the Jets, and we had one game late in the season where we gave up some runs. We had trouble running the football. And so that Wednesday, Rex Ryan went full pads, and we did 9-on-7. We were practicing against double teams, staying low. I mean, we had like basically a training camp type practice in week 16 to make sure that, hey, this shit can't fly. We're going into the playoffs. We need to make sure that all the techniques, all that stuff is taken care of. We've talked about, so you can't do that now, right? And so if you get this sort of, you don't want to sweep these little things under the rug, right? You want to be I'm all about being critical with this game when it comes to, hey, fix the little things so they don't become big things, because we're right next to the playoffs, and the last thing we need is a sort of a slump in any any one area, where teams can take advantage.
I wouldn't even call it a slump. I think,
I know. Sorry,
in my honest opinion, no, that's your opinion. I think that it could be a slump, but I think this team is bored, and I saw some commentators talking about it. This team is so good, has been so great historically over the last 5-year stretch that they almost know that the playoffs are a guarantee, and that they just got to get in there. And they spoke about comparing them to Golden State, kind of similar to when they made the run last year and won the title. Golden State, they've been on this long stretch, almost dynasty-like, of they just do enough to get there into the dance, and then they turn it on. Now, I feel like we're kind of feeling that a little bit. I think this team is getting a little bit older with the core guys, but two, they've just done it. They're used to it. The coaches, there's no panic. And I think sometimes when there's no panic, their urgency isn't there. They're not trying to prove anything. They know they're going to win some games, and they know when it comes to playoff time, they know what's at stake, and they're going to turn it on.
Gosh, you're so right. And I'm laughing because I know that BJ and Tucker and our producers, everybody, BJ Kissel and everybody, going to fire me because I don't even know what this would like. We're here to comment on this from a player's perspective. I have no idea what it would be like to be this team. I mean, every year we get to this point where we still have 4 or 5 games left,
and the division's wrapped up.
They're wrapped up. They're so used to winning. AFC Championship after Super Bowl after AFC Championship after Super Bowl. I can't even put myself in their position because it's so unique, right? I mean, you think of Brady and the Patriots. I bet you it was like that over there. But I mean, I can't think of too many teams that have had this much success year after year after year. And when we were playing, Jeff, you were a part of some really good teams there. But I left early. Not that the teams weren't good, but like there were a couple of times we had it wrapped up by like week 16. And so week 17, the starters would take a rest, and then we'd be into the playoffs. I've never been a part of a team who had it wrapped up 4 or 5 games before the season's over. These guys are human, and it's natural, especially given all the things that I brought up before with the holidays and this time of year, to sort of take your foot off the pedal a little bit, to get bored a little bit, which is really weird.
The Denver game was a microcosm of it. I mean, they kind of let their foot off the gas, gave up a lead. But even with giving up the lead, it was like, we're going to crush them.
Yeah.
Drove right down the field, scored a touchdown, sealed the game. So there was never any panic, even with them, making a run in that game. Right. But I will say, I agree with you. We need to clean some things up because you don't want to, let those small things seep through. And you could turn it on, but bad habits can become normal.
Right.
So make sure we clean these things up, especially going into the playoffs. Just need to see it 1 or 2 games. You don't need to see it the entire backstretch or back end of the season, but we need to see it 1 or 2 games going to the playoffs.
And here's a good team coming up. So we got the Texans coming up. Everybody's injured. They're trash when everybody's healthy.
Yeah.
This is going to be a sort of mental test for Kansas City.
Definitely.
Right? I mean, again, even though they're banged up, these are still NFL players. I'd love to see them go out and be a little bit pissed about some of the talk, a little bit pissed about the Bengals loss still, a little bit pissed about not smoking the Broncos as much as everybody hoped they would. And go out and just put it to Houston, right? I mean, and this is something that the Patriots, I always thought weren't great at. This was a team that, I'm talking about New England when Tom Brady was there. This was a team that it didn't matter. I was with the Jets. We were 4-12. They were going to kill. I mean, they were coming out to kill us. This team was coming out, and Bill Belichick had them ready every game like this was the most important game. And boy, they very rarely took their foot off the gas. Kansas City, with their foot on the gas, they're unstoppable.
Yep.
So they should just go out, get some of the aggression. Let's shut up some of the talk, and put it to these guys, because this team will roll right over.
I agree with you. I think this is a good. We won the game against Denver, but this is a get back on track game, just like it was after a loss against the Bengals.
Right.
I know for a fact Patrick is going to come out guns blazing, like a Red Raider that he is. He's gonna put up a lot of points, and he's going to play mistake-free football.
Exactly.
He's going to do what he needs to do to make this offense roll. And defensively, this team feeds off the offense. I know defense. Everyone says defense wins championships, but when this offense is rolling, defensively they turn it up. They're able to pin their ears back. They're able to rush the passer, and it takes a little bit of pressure off them. They're able to play free. So, with all that being said, I expect this offense to come out ready to roll. Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, they're going to have a great game plan. The offensive line is going to roll some guys up. I want to see Isaiah get some more carries, man.
Yeah.
This kid runs really hard. He got some carries at the end of the Denver game. But this he's the type that needs a multitude of carries. You can't give him one here and there. He punishes the defense. As the game goes along, he gets stronger. So I would love to see him get some carries throughout the game, not just in 4-minute situations.
And going back to not to harp on the game too long, but going back to the Broncos game, there did seem to be a sort of letting off the gas when it came to just calling runs. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, did you see sort of? I think they had, they had under 100 yards rushing. Now Denver has a good defense, but any idea? Is this just was that sort of a mistake? You think that to maybe get away from the run game? I think especially if Pat's throwing interceptions, like just slow everything down.
Yeah, I think we definitely, especially with the game the way it was going in the second half. First half they came out, didn't matter what they ran. Run pass, they were quick. And I think with the second half, when we started to turn the ball over a little bit, kind of got sluggish. I think we should have went to running the ball. It kind of calms us down as an entire unit. And offensively, this offensive line is suited to run the ball. I really mean that. I know historically this is what the Chiefs offense does with Andy Reid. I was a part of it. It's pretty much all pass. Even when you're running it, it's RPO style. And Patrick's going to throw the ball. But with the way this team is set up, I haven't seen 5 guys across the board this physical ever. While watching the Chiefs. Now I'm not. I know you had the Shields and the Waters back in the day.
Yeah, I didn't.
I'm talking about modern day,
our era.
In our era, where they have 5 guys across the board that physically get after guys the way that they do in the run game. So I feel like we need to feed them a little bit and lean on that, because they're depending on how this goes, we may have to be on the road in the playoffs. And you want to be able to run the ball, especially in bad weather. And depending on who gets that number 1 seed, we could be in some bad weather on the road.
Yeah, that's a good point, and something that we talk about them having the season wrapped up, but clearly that when you look at the Bills' schedule and you look at Kansas City's schedule, that number 1 spot is still there, and that is obviously a huge advantage. So that should also be in the front of their mind, and something that Andy Reid and those coaches are echoing, like, hey, don't pack it in yet, don't slow down yet, because this is right there.
There's a lot on the line. They're going to be playing. There's no one sitting week 18.
No, that's right.
This entire season will be played out. I mean, we're in second place. Buffalo's first, 10-3, tied, same record. They have the tiebreaker. So some things have to go our way, but we have to continue to win football games, and it's going to take everybody on board. So
that's it, brother. All right, well, that's really our Chief talk. There's not a ton this time of year. It starts to slow down a little bit. Obviously it'll pick back up with the playoffs, but this time of year with this schedule coming up, slow down a little bit. There is some interesting stuff going on off the field. Or at least not off the field, but outside of the Chiefs organization. One sad thing was obviously the passing of Mike Leach, and I know Jeff, you had some thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, it was sad, man. I don't know him personally, but I followed his career. I was a huge Michael Crabtree fan growing up. Watching Texas Tech, watching that offense and seeing how he innovated the game. He really changed college football. A lot of people don't talk about him when they say the greatest college football coaches of all time, just based off of his wins, but his impact on the game. What he did for the sport of football in general, high-paced offense, the no huddle, spreading people out, his concepts. He obviously was a quirky guy, but I love the way his take on football. He thought about it a little bit different. It's almost like the Dolphins coach. These guys just think differently about the game, but they bring value to the game because they're doing things that people didn't do before because they're outside of the mold. And you can appreciate that. So I'm really sad, not just for him, but his family, for his peers, for his team, his players. It's just an unfortunate situation, and my prayers go out to everyone that's affected.
Yeah, no, that is certainly true. Just a terrible loss, and as a player, it's very easy to see a coach, even if you don't know him, but to listen to a coach speak or see how a coach carries himself and know, yeah, that's a guy I would like to play for.
Yes.
And having watched some of the, some of his press conferences, again, I didn't know him or follow his career much, but I did know the sort of quirky stuff that you hit on and what he was like at the podium and the way he would answer questions. And he just looks like a fun human being to be around. And he looks like a coach that I would have, liked to play for. And so as a, football community, we certainly mourn his passing and we do pray and think about his family. So yeah, incredibly difficult. Okay, Big Jeff. Another thing going on in the NFL that we've seen a lot of talk about is the faking of the injuries.
Yes.
So we saw this in the Denver game against the Denver against Kansas City, right? There was a looked like a fake.
No, it was the Cincy game versus Kansas City.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cincinnati. Yeah, that's right.
Jesse Bates. I don't forget this type of stuff. I hate it.
You hate it?
I absolutely hate it. The reason why I hate it is because football is a dangerous game.
Yeah.
And you don't want to cry wolf in this game because guys really get hurt, and that's the last thing we want to see as teammates. That's the last thing we want to see as competitors. We want guys healthy, and we hate seeing guys go down. But more importantly, as an offensive player, if you're faking an injury to slow down the tempo of the game, that is an advantage for the defense, and it's cheating, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because we have our foot on the gas, we have you on the ropes, and it's almost like you're throwing in the towel without saying you give up.
Right.
And it really affects the game. I think unless you've played offensive football and you feel that feeling of going on the drive and going to the huddle and speeding up the tempo and having all of the advantage and momentum, and someone goes down with a fake injury, you have to huddle back up. They're able to make adjustments, change their personnel, do whatever they need to do to slow your momentum. Then you would understand why I'm so frustrated about this.
Yeah. Well, I have a.
I know you have a story about this, Mike.
I'm sitting here
I freaking hate it, Mike.
All right. Well, so this was in practice, but the story is funny nonetheless. So okay, this was like 2009. I think it was Rex's first year. Rex Ryan was the head coach of the Jets, and I feel okay to say this now because he said it on TV the other day. But that year we played New England twice. We were also playing the Colts, and both of those teams, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, took advantage of just what you were just saying. So we had our, especially in Rex Ryan's defense, we had our big, heavy first and second down defense. And then we had our third down defense, which was like 2 linemen and all like DBs and outside. I mean, it was, it was a big change. When we were changing defenses from first and second down to third down, there was quite the turnover on the field. And so, but New England and Indianapolis would take advantage of this by running the hurry up offense. So they'd run first down, run second down, and then right after second down, regardless of where they were, they would run right up to the football. They would have these plays ready, and they would catch us in our first and second down packages. So you'd have, me and Sione Pua and, big 300.
Exactly. Huge advantage when you have Mike DeVito on the field.
That's it. I'm playing run on
third down, man.
3rd and 10. I'm playing run. I'm like, is it run? It could be run. It's probably run. He's going to throw it, but I'm going to play run just to be safe. So here's the story. So Rex called. He's like, okay, DeVito, we're going to run this play. We're going to call it lobster. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to take a dive. And we're, talking about in these different situations. We're going to call lobster. You're going to take a dive. Now, they called it lobster because I was from Maine, because I'm from Maine. So that was the lobster Maine.
Yeah.
And he said, DeVito, you're going to go down and take a dive. And then we can sub in our guys and, get the right personnel on the field. You come out. And at first I was so honored because I'm thinking, dang, I got a play named after me. That's cool. But then I realized, like, I think our defensive coordinator came up to me and he was like, the only reason we called that after you is because you're the guy we can most afford to have off the field for the next play. Like, damn it. It's not cool anymore. But so I'm with the Jets, and I have my best friend, Matt Mulligan, who played tight end in the NFL. He played 9 years, and he played with me with the Jets. We're both from Maine, and so we're really close. In fact, one of the reasons I moved back up here is because he's up here. And so Matt's a tight end, and Matt and I are both incredibly religious, right? And so Rex calls this play, and he says in practice, hey, we're going to run this play. We're going to run lobster. And DeVito, you take a dive, and we're just going to work through how we're going to sub guys in and out. I said, okay. Now, everybody got the memo except for my buddy Matt, right? He had no idea that this was going on. And so we called the play. I go down, I'm faking an injury. We're working on 7 guys out, but I'm really trying to sell it, fake an injury. And my buddy Matt panics, and he runs over to me and he starts praying. He starts praying for me, right? 50-yard line of the Jets facility. He's praying for me. He's speaking in tongues. He's anointing me with oil. He's
going all out for you, man. That's
everybody was dying because it was like, Matt, it's lobster. It's the play. What are you doing? And I still give him such a hard time, but it was so funny because everybody was laughing, right? The whole place, and he took it so seriously. So that's the story being, I guess the point being, it's good to have good friends.
That's because he's an offensive player and we have souls, man.
That's
you guys are soulless and gutless, and you would do anything to win a football game, man.
That's right.
Even fake an injury.
Oh, man.
Hey, listen,
damn.
Jesse Bates, the Bengals safety that faked the injury, got fined $50K.
That's incredible.
And, that's a lot of money, man. I don't think you should be fined $50,000 for faking an injury, but I do think you should be fined.
What about the D lineman for the New Orleans?
I think that he got fined too, and I think they're not only fining the players, but they fine the coach.
Yeah, I think
they fined the team as well.
I think who's that? That was Cameron. What's his name?
Cam Jordan.
Yeah.
I'm
going to look it up real quick.
The league hates it as much as me. The coach got fined $100,000 and the team got fined $350,000. I think that's appropriate, for the team, given the revenue.
He got fined $100,000.
But the coach getting fined $100,000 is kind of crazy.
Oh.
The coach should probably get 50. The players should probably get 25 or 50. No, I don't know. But I do think that it should be punishment for it because it is a competitive advantage when you can do that, and it taints the game and it's cheating in a sense. Yeah. And I know defensive players. I mean, the coaches know for sure. Maybe when you're the player, if you haven't felt it as an offensive player, how it feels when you have the defense on the ropes, and how much of an advantage you have having the same personnel on the field. And like you said, New England, they knew on second down what the third down play was going to be before it even became third down. You call them the huddle. Right. That's a part of our game plan. That is a part of our strategy. And faking an injury is not a strategy. That is cheating.
There was a lecture I was a part of up at the University of Maine, and I told that story. And one of the students that were in attendance said, "Wait a minute, isn't that a cheating? Aren't you?" Aren't you cheating? Isn't that not a good thing to do?
It's not.
I was like, I'm sitting there thinking, that was the first time I really thought about it because it's like, well, you do whatever you got to do. But then I was like, damn, yeah, you know what? That's probably not a great thing to do. So no, I'm with you. And those fines will certainly get the point across. I mean, you're not going to be faking any dives if the team's going to get paid, $500,000.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, no, funny stuff. Okay, what do we got, Jeff? Anything else?
There's not much more to talk about. I mean, we obviously we know what it's about this week. Beat the Texans.
Yeah, get this stuff right.
Keep winning. Do what we have to do to get that number 1 seed back? Because right now we're number 2. We know what it means to get home field advantage, especially in an Arrowhead. We want to host another AFC title. This time we want to win it. We want to win it. and go and win that Super Bowl. So this is what it's about, man. We're looking. I won't look too far forward, but we know what this is about. This is about the bigger picture, and this is just a stepping stone along the way.
Can you imagine the first week off and the road going through Arrowhead to the Super Bowl? I mean, that's a beautiful thing, as Coach Reid.
Not just because I'm a Chiefs homer. Like, obviously I am. I love the Chiefs. I'm a big fan. I'm also honest. This team has everything it takes to win a Super Bowl.
Best team in Andy Reid's era, you think?
Best team in Andy Reid era, I would say, if they can put it all together, yes. This is definitely the best offensive line he's had. And I think we've had some struggles this year on the O-line, but it's not due to talent.
No.
I can tell you that they need to figure it out, come together. And when they do, because I'm banking on it,
right,
this team is going to win a Super Bowl. And it's going to come down to the offensive line. Defensively in the trenches, they're going to make some plays. Chris Jones, I feel like, is going to go on a crazy run. And you know Jeff Stradamus is coming back in the playoffs.
Come on now.
I don't bring him back during the regular season, but I'm warming up right now.
The crystal ball?
Yeah, I'm dropping some gems for you.
Yeah.
Get excited, Chiefs Kingdom. Get excited. It's on.
You should record it now. Write the stuff down. Put the dates on there so you could say, look.
I might wear a costume the entire playoff. I am dedicated to this. I can feel it in my fantastic. I can feel it in my soul. Like
that's
Patrick
great.
is like a fire-breathing dragon. Like I'm watching House of Dragons right now.
Oh, perfect.
Like let's go, man.
Yeah, brother. All right, Big Jeff, Chiefs Kingdom, thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you here next week with a win over the Texans as we embark getting closer on this playoff run. And we should all be excited now that we get to see Big Jeff dressed up as Jeff Stradamus when we get into the playoffs.
Let's go.
Let's go, Chiefs. We'll see you next week.